Good morning. Today is the 8th of February 2024 and I'm going to go through my trade plan for today. Got some couple of decent levels, but before we start, let's just remind ourselves of when we might see some market movement. We had initial jobless claims at 8:30. We saw a bit of a reaction to that, and there's not much more, but we do have some Fed speaking today at 12 o'clock, 5 minutes past 12, and we have the bond auction at 1, so these are the times really to be wary of. Other than that, there's nothing really that could make the market move until then. So starting off with the ES, this is the 1 hour time frame. Yesterday wasn't a great day for me. Yesterday I had a red day, disappointing red day. Even though I took 3 trades, I severely overtraded and oversized, and I got frustrated, and there was no real trades yesterday for me. I was trying to short a strong market. In fact, I was going short from here, I was going short from there, I was even going short from up there before I finally had enough and gave up. I did get short up there, made a little bit back on that pullback, but it was a red day, disappointing red day. I was fighting the trend, and the most disappointing thing is, in my pre-market video yesterday, I said I was looking to go with a trend, looking for a pullback into the trend. You know, this is the pullback I was waiting for off of that line, but I was adamant I wanted to short the market and wasn't in a very good state of mind. I wasn't feeling great yesterday as well, so that's why I didn't do an end of day recap video as well, because I was a bit under the weather but also really angry with myself. So I journaled a lot. I updated my journals today as well, and how am I going to prevent that again? Well, firstly, I'm going to just stick with a trend, the hourly trend. So we're still in an hourly uptrend, as you can see. So I'm looking for a trend entry today, not a reversal. And I'm using the 20 moving average on the hourly as a guide, and the 50 moving average. So if we're going to be above the 20, then on the hourly, then I'm only going to be looking for long entries and trend continuations. I would only consider reversals at significant areas. So like yesterday, I was trying to go short at 5,000. You can see that didn't work too well, but it was a bit of a reaction at 5,000. Not as much as I wanted. And the hardest thing is, I could have prevented a big loss yesterday by just taking profit, but I didn't take profit. I was holding, and if I am going against a trend, I should be looking to scalp and not force it and not go for the home runs. I was going for home runs, I've done for the last couple of days, and trying to force a home run when I should have just been scalping reversals and then going for home runs on the trend continuation. So to continue with the trend today, I'm looking for a long entry mainly. So the only area I can really see is this area here, which is about 5,000 psychological area, and there's also the eyes from last week, a pivot point. We had a big reaction last time we came to that push down, and we're running up on this trend line as well. So I'm kind of watching for a bounce off of there or a bounce off the trend line. They're the two areas I'm really watching for. If we do get down to that trend line, then potentially we're going to be in this region here. So I'm kind of using that as an area to get in. We've got tops of Wednesday. Tops of Wednesday, it could line up with the trend line, and we've also got the upward rise in 50 moving average, this red line there. So that's my plan really, a trend entry. I will consider a rejection only at the yesterday's high, but only if SPX also comes in to 5,000. I said yesterday I was watching SPX for 5,000, and that's when I only wanted to be shorting, and I was trying to short here all the way up. It was nowhere near 5,000. The only time a short would have worked was exactly at the number for 5,000. Well, we're 11 cents away from 5,000, but that's effectively that area. So that should have been my only rejection yesterday when it hit 5,000 on the SPX, but it wasn't, unfortunately. I was trying to reject all the way up. I was trying to find a short entry all the way up here. So moving on, just to recap my levels again, I'm watching for a pullback into that area at 5,000. 4,997.75 is the top of that pivot there. So that entire area, if we do fall down, I'm going to keep my stops tight. One thing I didn't do yes as well is short and wait for confirmation. I was just shorting levels. I was trying to catch a falling knife, and that wasn't really, that's not how you trade. That's a bad way of trading, and that's what caused me to have a significant loss yesterday. Frustrating, that's 2 losses in 2 days, and both of them were over trading, both of them were without confirmation, and both were pretty poor trading days really for me, especially when I've been so consistent. In January I only had 2 losing days in January. Again, that was to over trading. Yesterday was out of frustration, I think. So need to get back onto my consistent again. So trend entries and only at levels on the hourly. So it's got to be an hourly level. So these levels I'm setting now. So to recap, 5,000 bounce, watching 49.99, 49.90 area for potential bounce, but that's only off this trend line and it's a rough area. So yesterday's low and yesterday's low, so that must have been where we opened. Yeah, so where we opened yesterday's low. Or I'm watching for a bounce at 49.75 if we get down to that area. Let's get rid of the fibs, don't need them there. And obviously we've got other areas, we've got another significant area of 49.55. If we don't come back down to this area and there's no significant trade, I may consider a break and retest of the pre-market high, this area here. But knowing that there is going to be a resistance or a double top coming in at yesterday's high, which is the all-time highs as well. So I want to keep an eye on the long here. So we could get in with a short entry, treat it as a scalp, take profit at the all-time highs, wait for it to break, come back, add or get back into another trade there for the continuation. That's my plan. Trend continuation. And that's all we've been seeing over the last few days. Is we've been seeing dips being bought back up again, dips being bought back up again, dips being bought back up again. Even yesterday, you only had that dip there was bought straight back up again. That dip there was kind of bought back up again, and we kind of went sideways at the end of the day. Let's take a look at daily, just to look at volume. I was trading a vacuum yesterday, so I wasn't really looking at the higher picture or the higher time frame. So we're below average. We had decline in volume for the last few days on increase in price, and then we had a slightly above average volume, but it was a bigger bar. But that is a significantly bigger bar than the previous day, with not significant more volume. So potentially we could be looking at a top. So one to keep an eye on, but I don't want to call the top because we're in such a big, strong uptrend, and that's a solid day that was. You know, opened there, closed there, big solid green bar. So as you can see, it's quite clear on the daily. If we pull back into that area, then we can watch for potential up bounce for an uptrend entry again, and then we've got a few areas on the daily to watch for as well. When will it reverse, or what to look out for? Well, we need it to break the 50 moving average, the 20 moving average, which it hasn't done for some time, since November. So we've been above this 20 moving average. We came down for a few days, and then we stayed above it. But we need to close below it. I know we closed below it here, barely closed above it on that day. When's that? January the 16th. So that's when we can start seeing a bit of a turnaround. But until we do break below the 20 on the daily, then we got only really be considering trend entries. Looking at the SPY next. SPY again looking quite strong. Let's get rid of that one. So I'm going to readjust that to that pivot. I can get rid of that one now. So this is our trend line running alongside the 50 moving average at this red line. Again, we are above the 20, so not in a downtrend, or not even, shouldn't really be considering shorts unless it's a scalp. Double top, yesterday's high. Looking for a trend entry above the pre-market high, or a pullback into 496, exactly that area there, which is the pivot. So it'll be this entire area we're watching for. Yesterday's low to 496, and those numbers are 495.50 to 496. That's the areas to watch for bounce. That's nothing else really to add to that. Qs, yeah, defined area what we were watching yesterday. So 430.20, so a pullback down into this area here. Maybe yesterday's low, we can watch that as a zone, look for an entry, and we've got the rise in 50 moving average. So that's this area we can watch for a bounce. So that's 430 down to 429. Got this trend line. We can move it up here, keep it a bit tighter, so it's just the bodies of the candle. And what happens when I clone it? Look at that, almost there. So kind of in that channel at the moment. So not a great one. I'll keep the bottom trend line. So again, pre-market high. No, we've got all-time high just immediately above, and there's no volume like the other charts. I forgot to mention this. There's no volume up here at all. So if we do break over, if we do come up in that area, we may have little resistance to get over. Just go back to MES to show the volume as well. You can see on the daily the volume is tapered off. Back to the hourly. There we go. So on the hourly, if we do get above all-time highs, yesterday's high, we have a little bit of volume up there, but not a great deal. So where we're looking up here, in fact, there's hardly any volume. And another good chart to look at, one thing I forgot to, I've been watching the 4-hour chart a lot recently as well. And it's quite clear the uptrend on the 4-hour chart. And again, the 20 moving average is kind of holding it. We haven't come back to touch it yet. Where is it? 20 is below that trend line. So while we're on the 4-hour chart, while we're above the 20, we can only look for trend entries. That's how I'm going to start playing it. Try and go with the trend more. Okay, so look at Nasdaq, which should be similar to Qs. Got nice. Oh, we've already come into that bounce area from yesterday. Bounced already off of this trend line. So let's readjust this trend line. Let's make a new one. So use that area there. So break and retest off the pre-market highs is will almost be all-time highs. So look for a long above here. It has to be with confirmation, or if we pull back into, I like the fact that we've already triggered that area. So this trend line obviously comes from that pivot over there. So we kind of already touched it in the pre-market. We can watch for a double bottom, but it's never effective the second time round. Trailing up this trend line, but I don't like this trend line now because obviously it's broken. It was broken here, so we've got this new trend line. Let me just extend it down. Just see if anything fits. Probably around about there. So this is a trend line we can watch for, and obviously break that trend line, and we've broken this structure here, and potentially we could be looking for a change of trend, but nowhere near that yet. I do quite like the bounce back down here as well, kind of where it is, this zone up. So if we get down to that trend line, I'm looking for a bounce. So we've got a few things lining up. We've got yesterday's low, we've got the 50 moving average, we've got this trend line, and we've got this level here as well, and we've got the point of control, high volume. So basically I think this is the highest probability bounce area to watch. 17,720. Okay, oil next. I got an alert on oil yesterday. Go back into the hourly. When it broke this trend line, it was a break. Look at that break, kind of retested and push up. So that was in the pre-market today, so probably wouldn't have called it yesterday. Lots of topping tails, looked like it wanted to reverse that point. Increase in volume, and we broke through. That's the initial alert I got, and we broke through, pulled back. Probably not a good trade. It's in pre-market as well. Probably could have got the break and retest long, and we're in a decent hourly uptrend, and we're coming into the downward trailing 200 moving average right now, and that's the pre-market highs broken through. So the only rejection I can see, apart from where it is now, in fact, is probably coming into the area, this kind of neckline area, 75, 72. And that's because we've got tops of candles, bottoms of candles, bottoms, the top of that pivot there, and we haven't tested it yet, so we can watch for a rejection and we come back up to 70, 75, 72, 76 area. Or if we pull back down into this region here, yesterday's high, we can look for to continue the trend back up. They're the only two plays I can see on oil. Gold next, doing what it's been doing for a while, sideways. Is this a head and shoulders pattern? Left shoulder, don't really like the fact it's a lopsided. Right shoulder, head. This is the left shoulder. You could argue this is the left shoulder. A double head, more of a mutated head and shoulders pattern, and with the neckline in this region. Break down below, come back up, retest the 200 in that area. We could look for a short. I think that's the only play I can see. Or if we break over this area here, we can look for a break and retest long. But we do have a bit of resistance above. The Russell 2000 index, kind of been putting in a bit of a, there's that curving around. We've got this area here as well, potentially to break the structure. It breaks out, comes up, retest the pre-market high. We can look for longs, resistance. Look to the left, we've got a bit of resistance, so probably best we can clear 1970. Still got a lot of crap to the left there, and we've got the moving average. So, but we're below the 200, but we are above the 20 and the 50 now, so it looks like a change of trend. I don't like it myself. Horrible chart. But I think we need to clear yesterday's high for potential push up, another leg up. That's it, no trades for me on that one, let's get rid of them. But we are looking at a potential inverse head and shoulders pattern here. There's no real defined neckline, it's kind of this lopsided one. Break above, pull back, long. I think that's the only place I can see. The Dow Jones, this is the hourly time frame again. All-time high at 38,891. Similar to everything else, if we could break over a pre-market high, pull back, long, or yesterday's pivot, and then we've got a target of 38,891. As for a short, if we break down pre-market low, we could look for potential pullback into that short. But first target would be yesterday's low, and then we've got the pivot down here. I think notice volume was declining a bit over a few days. You can see decline in volume. If we look at the daily, I'll probably show it a bit clearer. So you can see decline in volume on the daily as well. It's showing signs of tiredness. And volume starting to increase as well in this area, and that normally means we're getting near to the end of a trend, like we saw increase in volume here as we're getting into this bottom trend. So potentially we could see curving around, looking for a bit of a reversal, but not until we see it on the chart. Extra volume, decline in the last few days, decline in the last few days there. And then SPX, just to keep an eye out, watching for a 5,000 reject again. We rejected it yesterday by 11 cents. Potentially, I'm not sure where this 5027 has come from. Let's get rid of those lines. Big uptrend. On the daily, that's better. Okay, it might be from. Let's just put that level in. Not away from there, but I just want to put it in case we need it in the future. We can watch for a bounce around about that area, which is at 49.20. Or, you know, we've yet to break. We haven't broken the 20 really. This 20 moving average since November. Before we moved above it. So maybe if we come back down into the 20, we can look for a bounce as well in that area. Or not on the SPX, but you can take it a bounce on MES or SPY. Lastly, obviously I want to keep an eye on 5,000 again today. Big psychological number on the SPX, and if it rejects off of there, we can probably expect MES and SPY to reject as well. And look at Bitcoin finally. The daily's looking decent again. Talked about this yesterday. Kind of watching this area here, and this is a bounce area. I did add to my small Bitcoin there. Possible target is going to have to be 50,000. Getting close, heading up towards 50,000. Next target is kind of got into that area. Let's just draw some levels in. These are potential targets for the future. And then any bounce areas. We've got this area here. And potentially this area here as well. So we're currently in between two decent areas, a bit messy this area, so we can watch for 48,000 for potential rejection or double top. That's a significant area as well. It's got pivots previously. You can see we had a big reaction last time we got there. There's an area of confidence as well, so tops and bottoms of candles, tops and tops. But if it breaks it, comes back, it could become the floor, and then we can watch for the next level up. Otherwise, watch for a bounce down at 38,000 again. 40 to 38,000 for potential bounce. That's it really. Let's have a look at MES to see if anything changed in the last few minutes. No, potentially watching, you can see this kind of bear flag setting up here. I still quite like this area here for a bounce, and then potentially down here for another bounce as well. May consider a bounce off of this trend line. There's a few things lining up in this area as well. Yesterday's low, the trend line, and the 50 moving average. So this point here. So keep an eye on that. That's it really. Okay, if you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be around tonight to do my trade recap again. I missed yesterday's, so I kind of covered it a little bit in today's video.